Thank you. Thought I was going to fall up the steps there, actually. So I was
You
trying
always
to...
get a standing ovation before you even speak. Very jealous. Vicky, I want to say welcome to West Clare, but actually I feel like you're a local now. Can we claim you?
Yes,
Is this your
yes.
favourite part of the world? I think
Well,
I've read somewhere that it is.
Yeah, so at the moment I'm half Limerick, half Kilkenny, but I would say I'm a third Limerick, third Kilkenny, third Clare at this stage.
You've won the banner!
So yeah, we have one of my big splurges last year actually when we won the court case. It was the only big kind of extravagant spend I did was but to buy a holiday home in Doonbeg. So
Well deserved.
So we've been coming here for about about 10 years I'd say, maybe longer. And it was kind of by pure chance that we came down here the first time. I didn't even know where Doonbeg was. I was a student, shirt broke student, and one of my friends had a mobile home in Doonbeg at the back of Tubridy's pub. Anyone from West Clare here will know where that is. And it was the jazz festival weekend and the weather was fab. And she said to me, now, right, it's a great weekend, we can't go down. She gave me the keys, was delighted. And then she said, when you're kind of want to walk off the hangover, go for a walk on Dockmore Strand. And if she hadn't given me directions, I'd never have found the beach. So it's the one right beside Trump's hotel. Well, do you know what? The first time I stepped on the beach, I just knew it was, I don't know, just very special, and that's why I keep coming back. So.
Well, we've spoken about the power of nature at numerous BEO events, and that sea therapy, is that something that you have found to be healing?
Yeah, absolutely. I've always been drawn to water. When we were small, my mum and dad lived in a cottage very close to where I'm from, or where my dad is from, down by the river. All of my father's family would have fished. So we lived about, half a mile away from the river. And I only heard this story recently, trying to kind of get ready for the book. When I was 3, I wandered off on my own, me and the dog, down to the river, and one of the old fishermen found me sitting literally at the edge of the water lapping up, me and the dog sitting there. Now, I probably wouldn't have ever gone into the water, but again, that's at the age of 3, I was drawn to the water from a very early age,
And it's still the same?
Yeah, still the same.
There was a time where you probably struggled to walk the length of the beach. You're no longer struggling.
Yeah, I mean, even actually, I was only saying it to my friends last night. Came down with a couple of the women, as you do, a few glasses of wine and a bit of food at the house before I came up here today. And I was just saying, this time last year, actually, probably maybe a couple of weeks towards the end of March, we came down for a few days, and I couldn't even get down onto the beach, never mind walk the beach. So, for me, it's just amazing to be here today, and I did the full end of the beach today. It's 2 kilometers I think long, so
fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And Vicky, can I ask you how you are doing? Because I know your family for a long time have been repeatedly asking you to start to put yourself first, finally, and it's certainly our mantra here at BEO. But is Vicky Phelan capable of that?
Not really, I suppose. I'm a control freak. I've always been a control freak, and nobody has ever told me what to do. I suppose I've learned a lot about myself. Actually, the process of doing this book has been good for me because I'm hearing stories.
You're just throwing that in there.
Yeah.
Can you explain? What book?
I'm writing it. Well, I'm not writing it actually. No, I have a ghostwriter. I haven't got time to write it, so she's writing the book. And so it'll be out in September, and it's like a memoir, really, I suppose. Everybody had said to me, ever before this, whole thing happened and the court case, to write a book, because so much has happened to me that people, don't, I suppose, realise, before all of this happened. I've had lots of things happen in my life. My daughter has a congenital disorder. She went on then at the age of 7. She had a really bad accident at home, got burned badly in a fire. She spent 6 weeks in hospital. She's skin grafted, with lots of issues there. She's got a visual impairment. She nearly lost her eyesight 2 years ago. Then I got cancer the following year. So, that either kills you or it makes you stronger. So, people often ask me, how do you keep doing what you're doing? But I've had so much other stuff happen and I've bounced back. Not always. I was listening to Claire talking earlier, and I've had huge periods of stress in my life, and one of the things that happens if you're going through particularly big periods of stress is that you're constantly in fight or flight mode. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened to me. And so then what happens then is that you generally either I went into periods of really bad depression, and my first experience with depression was when I had my daughter. So I had a really bad postnatal depression after I had Amelia, because we knew before she was born there was going to be something wrong with her. So Yeah, I haven't always dealt with things very well, and I think that's important for people to know, that people look at me and think, oh my God, she's so strong. How does she keep going, and how is she so positive? But I haven't always been positive, and I think that's important for people to hear, that sometimes you don't deal with things very well, but what it does teach you is that you learn triggers, you learn how to deal with things a bit better every time something else happens. And I just appreciate the small things now, because I suppose my time is limited, so I just live my life every day. That's it.
Amazing, amazing. I've heard you speak about bioenergy and complementary medicine, and despite what the powers that be were telling you, and despite popular opinion, you decided to listen to your body, listen to your gut instinct. Talk to me a little bit about that, because I think that's really powerful.
Yeah. Look, I've always challenged the medical profession from a very early age. I had a very bad car crash when I was on my work placement with the university in France, and that was my first, I suppose, experience to challenging the medical profession. And it taught me something from a very early age. I was only 19 at the time, but I learned very quickly, it's very important to kind of advocate for yourself and to know what's right about your body. So I've always been very good at doing that, probably because I'm that type of person anyway. I generally I'm not afraid of anybody. I don't care what people think, and I've always been like that. But I understand, I suppose, through the process of the last year that not everybody is like that. A lot of people contact me looking for advice on how to, simple things like just even ask their doctor a question about their illness, and it's not all cancer related. I mean, there's people contacting me about loads of different things, and it might simply be getting a referral to another GP, that they're not being listened to about symptoms that they're having. And it's just giving people the tools really to be able to ask questions. And on a simple level, I think, if you start asking questions even for small things, it gives you the confidence then to ask questions for bigger things. And I've had so much experience, I suppose that's built me up to where I am today, from advocating for myself when I had my car crash, when the orthopedic surgeon here was trying to get me out of bed when I came back from France, when I was clearly told in France I wouldn't be even sitting up, never mind getting out of bed for 2 weeks, and I resisted that, and I had to fight to kind of stay in that bed, and he was labeling me and somebody with an attitude problem. He actually brought my parents in. When you think about it, I was 19 years of age. He brought my parents in to have a chat and basically tell them to talk some sense into me. And fair play to my mother, she walked out. She just said, no, Vicky's not, she knows what she's talking about, and the doctors have told her not to do what you're telling her to do. But it's very hard for some people to go against that, and I understand that. But sometimes it just takes small steps. And if you take the small steps, it'll give you the confidence to do more.
Well, I think you embody female empowerment, and we have had a lot of it today and throughout the BEO series. I think slowly but surely there's a shift starting to happen in Ireland. But is it a case of a lot done, a lot more to do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think particularly over the last year with the Repeal the Eighth movement last year, I think that was a huge kind of watershed moment for Ireland. And also, like over the last couple of weeks, there's been a lot of women talking about their experiences of having babies, and the lack of aftercare for women after childbirth on Joe Duffy, which really has kind of taken a life of its own. There was a lot in the newspaper over the weekend, and I was really glad to see that. And I kind of weighed in behind it as well, because I think we've all had experiences of, and not just necessarily childbirth, but gynae. And if anyone has gone in with problems related to your vagina, basically, any gynae problems, you're not taken seriously. I think a lot of the time that they don't listen to you when you're talking about your body, and nobody knows your body better than you. You're a woman, you know your body, and I think that's something that women are getting better at doing. And also, there's no shame in it. Every one of us here has a vagina, for God's sake. Do you know what I mean? So and we've all had problems. Obviously I'm getting all the stories. I get, lots of people talking to me about different things that have happened. But, I think when I made the decision to talk about how my cancer in particular had affected me and my sex life, and, the side effects that I experienced, I think it was with Miriam O'Callaghan when I did the podcast with Miriam. And I said to Miriam, I can go as graphic as you want now, Miriam, but I know it's a Sunday morning show, and maybe, people won't want to be hearing about their vaginas at 11 o'clock in the morning. But, But she said to me, in fairness to her, she said, no, Vicky, I think it'll be very powerful if you do. And, I felt so good. And that's one thing, I suppose, if I can just say that. I know not everybody's comfortable talking about their vaginas, but, and I'm going to keep saying the word.
No, it's great. Sing it from the rooftop.
But, like at the end of the day, I often find with women, if you think about breast cancer is devastating, but because breasts are nice, it's easier to talk about it, whereas nobody talks about cancers that are down in your vagina. You know what I mean? If you have ovarian cancer, cervical cancer, any of that, there's a certain stigma attached to it. But why? Why? I mean, we spend half of our lives down our vagina between periods, childbirth, menopause. Come on,
And you were applauded for your honesty. You were nervous, or you weren't sure whether you should on a Sunday show talk about it. But that frank honesty. I think we need to have more conversations like that about women's issues.
I think so, because I suppose I realised after I did start talking about it, it was just the amount of people who contacted me afterwards with their own stories. I realised how much of an impact it had on people, and that made me feel better about myself. There's nothing better, to be honest. People often say to me, why are you still doing this? You could step back now and spend time with your family, and I am doing that a bit more, but I get great satisfaction from helping other people. That you often read about getting involved in community initiatives or volunteering or campaigning is really good for you. One of the things, if I can give you any piece of advice, is if you're not doing something like that, get involved in something that actually makes you feel better about yourself. Helping other people actually makes you feel good about yourself. So there's a bit of selfishness in what I'm doing because it makes me feel good.
No, it's true, and there's such a focus on self-care, but actually I think we probably need to start looking at community a little bit more now, and that human interaction. Even after what you'd been through, Vicky, and losing all trust in the system, you still encouraged women to go for their smears. Is that still true? And do you still feel that way?
Yes, 100%. Look, I mean, myself and Simon Harris are quite friendly, and but at the same time we do have disagreements. I don't agree with everything he does, and I'll tell him if I don't, and likewise. But, I do think the decision he made was the right one at the time to offer free repeat smears. What he didn't do was follow it up with resources, and that's where he went wrong, and I was very quick to say that. But I do think it needed to be done at the time because everybody was terrified and women were terrified, and I've actually had a lot of women. I know what you're not seeing probably in the media is the amount of women that has actually saved. A lot of women have contacted me who did go for repeat smears, who got results back and discovered that they were actually high-grade changes, they were early-stage cervical cancer, who've been able to have treatment, and if they hadn't had that smear, they'd probably be in my situation now. So, I mean, the reason I kept advocating for smears at the time is because this cancer is awful. It's an awful cancer to get, and that's why I've been so graphic about it, because if it drives people into their GPs to have their smear done, that's why I'm doing it, because I don't want other women to be going through what I'm going through. This cancer is devastating, not just on your body, but on your relationships. 50% of marriages, up to 50% of marriages can break down after a cervical cancer diagnosis. I really don't want to see other women getting this cancer, particularly younger women. I mean, it's been very hard for me over the last number of weeks because of, the number of young women who have died. Laura Brennan here from Clare, who I knew and
there are
met.
people in this room who knew her and loved her dearly, relations and friends, and no more than yourself, Vicky, another hero that we owe an enormous amount of gratitude.
I don't think people realise the impact Laura will have. I really don't think people would realise the impact Laura will have had. I think she will have saved thousands of lives because, I've said this before. I mean, I'm 40, nearly 45. Laura was only 26, and I think that's what really killed me. I thought, at least I've had my children, I got married, I've lived my life. Laura didn't get that opportunity, and that's what really kills me about this cancer, because it hits the younger women. And, but Laura still used her time to campaign, and I think it made the difference. If I had done a campaign for the HSC encouraging young girls, they wouldn't have paid a blind bit of difference. I'm a 45-year-old old one. Laura was 26, glamorous, beautiful, and girls could see, oh Jesus, if somebody like that can get cancer, well, so can I. So I think, she really will have saved thousands of lives, and she was just a fantastic girl. I'm glad I was able to meet her, and I'm so sorry that she didn't survive.
You're here. Vicky, I cannot tell you what an honour and a privilege it has been to have you here on our BEOs. It'll go down for me as one of the all-time highlights. Please, ladies, be upstanding for the fantastic, again, fantastic.
Go for your smears.